Perfect. Thank you so much. Yvette, if I can ask you to go into the screen sharing mode so that we may see the slide presentation for this evening. Okay. Perfect. So, good evening. This is the final budget presentation in our extensive series of presentations. The budget development process really doesn't begin in the winter. We actually begin this process in the fall. We begin gathering the enrollment data, we begin gathering the programmatic data, we begin gathering the needs of our schools, of our facilities, and of our students, most importantly. And we put those together so that we can better understand how our budgetary planning will begin to take shape in the months to come. We go through a series of different departmental presentations. Those presentations entail a very detailed presentation and certainly a very detailed discussion. You'll recall our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mr. Tom Cole, delivers the lion's share of the budgetary presentations. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge Mr. Cole and his department for all of the work that goes into creating this budget and to developing the budget. They make it look easy, but it is not an easy process. And this was an especially challenging budgetary year for so many reasons, and we'll spell those out momentarily. But I do want to acknowledge Mr. Cole and his team in the business office for all of their work in preparing this budget. We always strive to be very sensitive to our taxpayers while also providing our students with the opportunities that they need to be successful in the next stage of their lives. Yvette, if I can ask you to advance, please. So I found this quote and I thought it was wholly appropriate for this evening's presentation. We're in uncertain times, very uncertain times. Education has always been the means to answer the questions. We have more questions than we have answers, but continuing to build our educational program and to invest in our education system is paramount. On the next slide, it reads another quote that I'm very fond of, and I think I coined this one. The school budget tells the story of a district. You get to see what schools value where they allocate the very limited and scarce resources that they have. And I think our budget will share with you some of our story. And our story is still unwritten in its totality. So we'll continue to expand upon that. But certainly our budget is grounded in our 2020 vision plan, and that's on the next slide. Our vision plan, and I just always want to put that front and center for our school community and for members of our viewing public who are watching this live on YouTube or will be streaming this at a later date. The Yorktown Central School District is really committed to cultivating empathy, celebrating creativity and innovation, promoting critical thinking and authentic inquiry, and providing our opportunities to nurture one's ambitions. And what we're looking to do, and our why, is to develop students who have the capacity to influence change in the world, positive change in the world. Yvette, we can go to the next slide. There is no question that our school district has achieved wonderful feats over the course of many years and certainly in recent years. We offer an instructional program that is so rigorous and it's appropriately challenging. Our outcomes are amongst the very best in the county, in New York State, in the region, you name it, across the country, our outcomes are near the very best. Bet if I can ask you to go to the next slide. Even more impressive than the academic achievements of our children are the service and character achievements. They give of themselves. They raise money for important causes. Our students are empathetic. They're high character. And they demonstrate that day in and day out. Our eSTEAM approach is so innovative. We have districts from all across the region, in fact, all across the world, coming to visit us to hear and learn about our eSTEAM approach. Last year, we hosted a group of visitors from the Japanese Ministry of Education so that they can learn more about eSTEAM. In February, members of the South Korean Ministry of Education visited Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES to meet with myself and our delegation to learn more about eSTEAM. There is so much global interest and regional interest in the fine work that's happening here in Yorktown, and we're happy to share with our colleagues. Yvette, if you can advance. We educate the whole child here, and I'll speak more to that momentarily. We offer 70 co-curricular activities. That is just a remarkable number of opportunities for students to find their interests and pursue them. We offer 60 interscholastic athletic teams. That is just such a wonderful opportunity for a student to take their passion for sports and use them on our athletic fields and our courts. Our students achieve at a very high level in all regards. In athletics specifically, our students are all section, all state, all American athletes. And we are so, so proud of them. Next slide, Yvette. Academically, I just want to share with our community a little bit about what 2019 entailed for our district. And specifically, I'll speak to Yorktown High School. And as Mr. DeGennaro, our high school principal, often says, a high school doesn't get to this level of excellence without a strong K-8 system to support it. So we have a tremendous, tremendous high school. Excellent teachers, the very best. Wonderful students, supportive families. And we have a phenomenal K-8 system that precedes it. In 2019 alone, Yorktown High School won the very, very prestigious National Blue Ribbon Award for Academic Excellence. We were also a New York State Reward School for Academic Excellence, Newsweek's top STEM high schools in America. In 2019, we actually were ranked 635th in the country. Now, mind you, there are over 24,000 high schools in America. 14,400 are rated by US News and World Report. And in 2020, our rating increased by over 100 spots. What a testament to the wonderful work happening at Yorktown High School. That's top 3% academically of schools in the country. And that is remarkable. And my hat is off to Mr. DeGennaro, his leadership team, the teachers at Yorktown High School, the staff, our students and their families. I've shared this image with you back in 2017. It's a picture outside of the Vatican in 2005, and then another picture prior to the papal announcement in 2013. And I use this image often because it really conveys how quickly this world has changed in a short amount of time. Now, on this next slide, it's another reminder of how quickly the world has changed. And I did not create this slide, but I did create this next one. When you think about what this pandemic has done and the change in the world that has resulted and certainly will continue, telehealth has really changed the way healthcare is done. Teleeducation has substantially impacted schooling, although I have said, and I will always say, that remote learning will never be a replacement for the face-to-face learning and the connectivity that students have with their teachers and staff in the classrooms. But grocery and contactless food delivery have changed our way. And certainly Zoom has changed the workplace. And I say that humorously because we're on Zoom for this meeting, and that's our way of connecting in these times. Yvette, if I can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Our approach in Yorktown is so simple yet so complex. It's an empathy-based approach to STEAM instruction. It's empathy underpinning all of the work of creativity and innovation. That's the Yorktown way. Now, what was our charge when we set out to develop this budget? Well, we wanted to continue to offer our students the new and innovative learning opportunities, but we also needed to produce a budget that was respectful and sensitive to our taxpayers. Now, when I say we're in interesting times, we truly are in interesting times. In addition to the health crisis, there were some other factors that we were contending with in the budget development process, and those are bulleted there. And the last is probably the most challenging, reimagining what that new normal will be in our schools. And nonetheless, we need to reimagine the new normal, but we also have to budget for it. And we have to budget for the unknown. We're still designing what the new normal will be, and we're still understanding it. Now, regardless of the constraints that are upon us, and regardless of the budgetary circumstances that we find ourselves in, we will always commit ourselves to educating the whole child. There is nothing more paramount to our mission than ensuring that our children are educated, mind, body, and soul. We support children academically. We support their character development. Social emotional learning is so important. We offer so many different opportunities to engage in the school community and in the broader Yorktown community. And our children are the better for it. On the next slide, I think this quote by Aristotle really captures the essence of educating the whole child, because educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. And that's our commitment to the children of Yorktown. Just want to quickly walk you through our budget process and our timeline as I provide you some more details about this budget that we've developed. Back in November, in fact, it was actually October, but November is where we began formally with our meetings. We have worked through so many of the different machinations and so many of the different combinations that we could create programmatically, and infrastructure and technology and facility standpoint, and understanding the Wi-Fi systems and textbooks and instructional programs and professional learning opportunities and transportation and all of the other moving parts that go in to an organization that educates 3,400 plus students and has about 500 employees. Now, you may be curious as to why we're voting in June as opposed to the third Tuesday in May, as has been the customary practice. Well, on May 1st, when the governor ordered the schools closed for the remainder of the year, there was also an executive order that spoke to the manner with which school budget votes and trustee elections would be held. Now, what we learned is that the budget vote and trustee election will be held on June 9th, using a 100% absentee ballot system. So what does that mean? Well, that means that the school district will be mailing absentee ballots to all 14,000 plus registered voters within the Yorktown Central School District catchment area. Those voters will also receive a postage paid envelope to return their ballot to the school district. Ballots are due back to the school district by June 9th at 5 p.m. They are due in the district June 9th at 5 p.m. So they may be returned sooner, but they may not be accepted after that. So that is how we arrived at a later budget vote date, and that has pushed our timeline back. And obviously, there are other obvious circumstances that have resulted in the delay of the trustee election and budget vote. Yvette, if I could ask you to go to the next slide. These are all the presentations that have been made prior to this evening's presentation, certainly January 13th through April 27th. Those budget presentations are all posted on our website. They can be accessed also by visiting www.yorktown.org/budget. Again, www.yorktown.org/budget. These presentations will also be airing on our Cablevision and Fios channels as well in the coming days. Yvette, the next slide. Enrollment is the largest driver of any school's budget. Our enrollment appears stable for now. However, we do anticipate increases. The board and the district commissioned a demographic study by Dr. Paul Seversky, and he has formulated just a very thorough understanding for us of enrollment within the district and projected enrollments in the years to come. So we rely on that as one very important metric in understanding enrollment in the years to come. One thing that I will share with you is that over the last 5 years, we have seen a 33% reduction in children attending private or parochial schools, and they have come to our schools instead over the last 5 years. So that is, we were a little over 250 students attending private schools 5 years ago. We're at just over 160 students attending private schools. Today, I do anticipate that number will continue to come down, partially because and primarily because our schools are absolutely wonderful. They're exceptional, but also in this economic climate, there are some decisions that need to be made in that regard as well for families. So also, the projected enrollment here, the 3,377 for the upcoming year, that is our best estimate for enrollment. I do believe, and again, this is purely speculative, but I think it makes sense. I do believe that kindergarten enrollment, and that's a large function as to why the number's a little lower than the past year. Kindergarten enrollment numbers are a little lower. I do believe that this pandemic has had a little bit of a suppressor effect on kindergarten registrations. So I do anticipate that those numbers will certainly grow. We receive calls of parents wondering if we are even conducting registrations, which we are. So if you are a parent of a child who is due to enroll in kindergarten, we are open for registration. We are enrolling children new to the district and families new to the district. You can contact Patty Sauber in our registration department for further information. So we welcome that, but I do believe that our incoming kindergarten numbers are a little bit low partially for that reason. Yvette, you can go to the next slide. There are some substantial external costs that the district has no control over that certainly drive the budget. There are pension costs that increase, and then there are health insurance costs that the district certainly has to contend with. So those are factors that are accounted for within our school budget. Yvette, if I can ask you to go to the next slide. So the highlights of the budget, first and foremost, we're going to continue to ensure that our programs remain intact. Some may look a little different as we move forward, but we certainly want our programs to remain intact so that our children have the wonderful opportunities that have been afforded to them to this point. Class sizes will certainly be maintained at or below the Board of Education guidelines. There are also health and safety upgrades to prepare for the reopening of schools. And we're still working through that. As I mentioned, this new normal and operating a school district environment under this new normal, that bullet 3 speaks to that. So we understand some of the facility upgrades that need to be made to promote social distancing. We are getting dribs and drabs of guidance from the state education department and the governor's office, and actually the county executive's office as well. So we are working through some of the recommendations. We're consulting with our medical director so that we can understand what best practices are so that we can ensure our facilities meet that high standard of best practice. And those are some of the considerations that we certainly have to factor into our budget. And this 4th bullet speaks to academic support programs for students. And we're actually thinking of starting those as early as this summer and looking at our elementary, middle schools to ensure that we can provide the skill-based support so that students are comfortable and ready academically for when September comes. Our children have been working extraordinarily hard, and our teachers have done a phenomenal job, and the children have really, I don't want to say they haven't missed a beat, because there is a piece that of being in school that's so important, but academically our teachers have done a tremendous job of providing the content to our students, providing the support to our students so that our students are well positioned for the rest of this year as well as the fall of this upcoming school year. But we do have to account for support for our students, and that's something that we certainly as a school district need to be mindful of as we move into the summer of 2020 and certainly into the 2020-2021 school year. Yvette, on the next slide. We're also looking at building upon our engineering program at Yorktown High School. We installed our first engineering course this year. It's been a wonderful success. The teacher in the program has just been remarkable. Our administrative oversight of the course has been terrific, and we want to see that expand, and our students would like it to expand. That is one of the recurring themes that I often hear in my conversations with students, and I'm sure I'm not alone, is that, gee, we'd love to do more with engineering. I went off and I majored in engineering in college, and it would be great if our high school can offer something. And we see that with our graduating class, how many students move on to major in, certainly in the broader STEAM area, but also within the engineering fields. So we'll continue to build our footprint, ultimately moving toward a sequence in engineering. Also, contingency resources to offset enrollment growth and student needs. Families want to move to Yorktown. That was made abundantly clear by the Seversky enrollment study. Yorktown Central School District is a place where families would like to move. They would like to enroll their children in the schools. They would like to be part of the broader school community. We have wonderful athletics, wonderful arts, just a second to none co-curricular program. There's so many wonderful opportunities for our students, and we're seeing that. We're seeing that from the real estate data that we're analyzing. We're seeing that from the enrollment numbers. We're seeing that in so many different metrics. So we anticipate enrollment growth this summer. My first summer, we had 64 new students enter the district. That is a very, very high number of students to enter a school district in one summer. So we certainly anticipate that happening, and we're looking at security enhancements. That's something that's a perpetual goal of ours, to improve our security operations. Mr. Cole is honestly one of the greatest tactical minds that I have ever come across, and he is constantly looking for ways for us to make sure that our students and staff are safe. That is our first and foremost responsibility, is to ensure that our students and staff are safe, healthy, and well. And two of the bullets that you see here speak to that. On the next slide, we're a people business. Our capital is human capital. So our budget is largely driven by salaries and benefits. And then there are other contractual costs that we certainly look at, our transportation vendor and all the different service providers within our district. The security providers are part of that contractual, legal counsel, medical director. Those will all fall in that category. And the rest are far smaller parts of our budget. Now, with regard to the tax rate and the levy, the budget to budget increase, our budget to budget increase that I'm proposing this evening is a 1.55% budget to budget increase. So what does that mean for residents of our town and in the neighboring communities who are part of that base? Well, the tax rate change in Yorktown is estimated to be 1.15%. I'll come back to that in a moment. The tax rate change in Newcastle is a decrease of 3.33%. And then in Cortland, it's an increase of 1.9%. Now, our Board of Education, our district, has been so fiscally responsible to the residents of Yorktown. So we're proposing a 1.15 estimated tax rate change in the town of Yorktown. Over the last 5 years, you'll note that the increases have been quite modest. And Yvette on the next slide will share that in a 2% tax levy cap environment, the district has demonstrated responsible fiscal stewardship. So the tax levy increases in recent years are there. And if you take a look at 16-17 and 18-19, it was a 0.0% increase on the levy, which actually resulted in tax rate decreases. So I hope that this demonstrates to you the profound sensitivity that our board and our administration have for our taxpayers. And I hope that the wonderful programmatic offerings that we're able to provide within this high level of responsibility reflect a profound commitment to our students and to our community. Now, on the next slide, you'll see, as I previously mentioned, the vote is by absentee ballot only. They must be received by June 9th at 5 p.m. For residents within our school catchment area, you'll receive a budget postcard that will be coming to your mailboxes soon. It's going to be part of a bulk mailing. And then there will be absentee ballots that are mailed to all registered voters. It's not too late to get registered to vote if you're interested in doing so. You can certainly do that. There'll be information on our website and certainly on the postcard to point you in the correct direction for that. And certainly a budget newsletter, as we do annually, will be mailed to your homes in early June. With that said, I just ask if there are any questions or comments or any points for discussion. Mr. Cole is here as well, and he is certainly equipped to answer the questions as well.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Lisa. I know this was difficult. Reshmi, did you have questions?
No, I'm good.
Peter?
Yeah, just one. Ron, what happens if the budget doesn't pass?
Thank you for asking that. Now, that's certainly a possibility. That's always a possibility with the absentee ballot system. There's some uncertainty about that. If the budget does go down, if it doesn't pass, districts generally have one of two options. They can go out for a revote, or they can adopt what's called an austerity or a contingency budget. I'll ask Mr. Cole to speak about that. With regard to the revote, that will be a discussion that the board and our leadership team will have, because the absentee ballot system, you can imagine the expense in creating the absentee ballot, putting it in an envelope, taking that, putting that in an envelope, return addressed back to the district, postage paid. Then you put that into a bigger envelope to mail that out to the registered voter, and you pay the postage on that. and then you repeat the process almost 15,000 times. So there's a cost associated with a revote that is quite substantial, somewhere in the neighborhood of $35,000 to $40,000 for that revote. But that is something that we would certainly consider as a school district. With regard to the latter option of just adopting an austerity budget, that's probably even more concerning. And I'll ask Mr. Cole to speak about some of the things that we would have to consider under that circumstance.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Hatter, and good evening, everybody. Under a contingent budget, we would have to remove $1.6 million from the budget or come up with additional revenues. It's unlikely we would be able to come up with significant additional revenues to reduce the tax levy to the prior year level, given our commitment to having to fill $3.5 million worth of a revenue void currently that was created by reductions in state aid and other revenue streams that have suffered under the results of the declining economy under the pandemic. So we'd have to cut about $1.6 million in total. We also have our eye on potential mid-year cuts next year by the governor to our state aid. So in all likelihood, we'd have to make mandated cuts by law to equipment, some of the things that wind up in the classroom. We'd have to put some restrictions on the use of the facilities by our community with regard to paying fees for access to the facilities and so forth. So it would be a significant impact to the current budget from this level.
And I do want to speak about that. And I appreciate, Peter, you asking that question. In order to get to the position of having an estimated 1.15 tax rate increase in the town of Yorktown, we had to look at so many different aspects of the budget amidst a shortfall that we're having. There's reduced state aid. The governor has been very public on that, and we certainly understand the reality of the state's finances. That's something I think that we all understand. But that trickles down to the schools. And then there's the lost revenue from our investments. There's the lost revenue from the French Hill rents. There are other lost revenues in the form of county sales tax. So those are all things that impact the schools. So we were facing a multi-million-dollar shortfall just as a result of this pandemic before we began. And to take the tax rate even lower for us to get to that 1.15, we looked at the contingency of fuel. We noticed that the commodity price had come down, and could we realize some savings for the taxpayers there? We saved on some lines within our budget. Substitute costs is one of the lines that we certainly saved some monies on. So those options have all been explored to get us to this 1.15 estimated tax rate increase in the town of Yorktown. So going to a contingency budget, we really have no other place to reduce than to reduce program. And when you reduce program, you're reducing people within the school district. So that's something that's quite concerning. I would anticipate that class sizes would have to increase. I would anticipate that some of our programs would have to be either reduced or modified in delivery, but all of the other options have been explored in light of this pandemic to get us to where we are today. To have to cut another 1.6 million would be quite a tall order for our school district. And our budget is so lean as it is, so cutting an additional 1.6 would present quite the challenge.
Lisa, did you have questions?
I do have a question. It's about the absentee ballot. So you said that they would be going out shortly. So my question has a couple of parts. By what date should I start to be concerned if I don't receive it? And if I don't receive the ballot, where can I contact about that issue? And you said that it has to be received by June 9th at 5 o'clock. If I want to bring it somewhere to make sure it's received, where would I bring it?
So all really, really good questions. So what's going to be going out there? There are multiple steps in with regard to the notification system for voters. The first is a postcard, just simply informing residents, and that's going to households, about 7,100 households, not to individual registered voters. That is going out soon. And when I say soon, within the next week or so, that's going to be going out. The absentee ballots will then follow that. I don't have a time frame because the mandate was just issued on about a week ago. And so although it was said in a press conference on May 1st, the language around that was not clarified for us until recently. So we're working with a few different entities, legal counsel, printers, to and supplies to obtain 45,000 envelopes. So in terms of when should you call us, if you haven't, I would suggest contacting our district clerk, Yvette Siegel, ysiegel@yorktown.org. If you haven't received a ballot by late May, I would certainly encourage you to contact our district clerk with regard to, okay, so it's June 9th at 4 o'clock and I need to drop the ballot off. How do I get it to the district? There is at the district office outside of that main door a drop box. So anyone who wants to return their ballot in person may do so. We will check the drop box by 5 p.m. or at 5 p.m. on June 9th. Anything received after 5 p.m. will not be considered. But yes, somebody can drop it off into the drop box in front of the district office at 2725 Crampond Road in Yorktown. And Mr. Cole, if there's anything else, or Yvette, that you'd like to add to that, please do.
No, I think you've got it all.
Cheryl, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Anthony? Unmute yourself, Anthony.
I'm good.
Mike?
No questions.
I have a question. There's also a proposition that's going to be on the ballot. Is that correct? Well, you're muted, Ron.
Sorry, just Proposition 1 will be there with regard to
The budget?
the budget. Tom, you can correct me, but I believe all voters are going to see is Prop 1.
That's correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure there's nothing else on the ballot we have to talk about. Okay.
Correct.
Can you just, I know you've talked a little bit about it, but can you just talk about some of the changes that have occurred since, I guess, late February, beginning of March, when we were still meeting as in person, and now to the budget, and some of the changes that have occurred?
Sure. With regard to the budget?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So when we again built this budget, the budget planning starts in November. Then the pandemic came upon us, and we had developed, prior to that, we had developed a really solid plan for our operations this coming school year. And there were some wonderful things we were excited to look at, whether it be some new offerings, some new programs, facility work within the schools. And when the pandemic hit and there's a fixed revenue stream in the form of a tax levy cap, and there's a substantial reduction in revenues from state aid, from county sales tax, rent at French Hills, return on investments, you really have to reprioritize what you're looking for in the coming school budget. And then you also have to say, you know what, what's appropriate at this time. And when I say reprioritize, while everything that we wanted is so important to the operations of the district, in order to reopen, our understanding is that we're going to have masks available, and a substantial number of them. I have a price quote sitting on my desk here, and the masks are now going for $6 and change per mask. That is a substantial, and when you're buying in the volume that a school district is, when you're looking at the other personal protective equipment and the infrastructure changes, those are substantial. And with a very fixed amount of money available to us, we had to really look at the prioritization of the items in our budget and say, we're going to have to go without this, and we're going to have to explore a way to find an efficiency here and modify this and look at this differently and reimagine this. And maybe this is an opportunity to change something else within the organization, because we do need to be able to ensure health and safety of faculty, staff, students first and foremost. So we went through a very exhaustive process originally for the budget. And then we went through it again as we reprioritized what our new needs would be under a new normal heading into the coming school year. Tom,
Thank
anything to add on that? Or Jackie, was there anything that you wanted clarified or spoken to?
No, I know one of the charges the board gave you was to make it as fiscally responsible as you could, but we didn't want to hurt program. I think that's always been a priority with the board, so I'm glad that you heard us. Did anybody else have any other questions? We're all good? All right, I guess we're good, Ron.
Well, thank you. And again, if I may, Jackie, I just want to thank, first of all, the board at large for their support in this process. This has not been an easy process. This is probably one of the more challenging budgets that I've developed, and it was challenging on so many different layers. First of all, to have revenue slashed the way revenue was slashed, and then to try to figure it out, which we did. And we did well, and Tom is the best in the business. And then to have to reprioritize the monies that are available to you, that presented another challenge. And again, I believe this budget reflects that. But I also want to acknowledge the Fiscal Advisory Committee, led by Mike Mignani, who's the chair of the committee, Anthony D'Alessandro, and Jackie, you're on that committee as well. I just wanted to acknowledge Mike, Anthony, and Jackie, because you have been great about getting into meetings with us and really setting a very strong direction for us, and really holding us to that dual goal, that delicate balance, responsibility to the taxpayer and also responsibility to the children in front of us to make sure that they have the best possible education and greatest number of opportunities available. So I really appreciate Mike Mignani, Anthony D'Alessandro, Jackie Carbone. You have been wonderful, and our entire board as a whole. You have just been absolutely tremendous to work with through a very challenging time and a very challenging process. So I appreciate your support more than words can say.
We truly appreciate everything you and Tom and Lisa have done for this budget, and all of your administrators. So we thank you. We know it wasn't easy for the principals either. All right, are we ready to move on to the adoption?
Yep.
Okay, so resolve the annual school district budget for the fiscal year 2020 to 2021 in the amount of $99,700,000 and the requisite portion thereof to be raised by taxation on the taxable property of the district be approved.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, thank you, everybody. All right, we're going to move on to personnel. Be it resolved that pursuant to section 3031 and 3019A of the education law, the board, having reviewed and considered the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, hereby terminates probationary appointment of employee 5303 as a special education tenure area in the district effective June 30th, 2020. And be it further resolved that the board hereby directs the board clerk to notify employee 5303 that their employment in the district shall terminate on the above date.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion that the following be approved. Under certified personnel, we have several appointments. We have part-time appointments and temporary appointments. We have our tenure appointments, which you already did. We have regular substitute appointments, a resignation. We have classified personnel. We have a change in civil service, and we have resignations for the purpose of retirement. Ron, did you want to speak to any of the appointments after we do this?
I do, if I may.
Okay, do you want us to give the motion or you want to talk first?
If I may, I just,
Go ahead.
we've hired a dynamite class of new teachers. I'm really excited about the direction of our science research program. I know one, if not both of the teachers were on this call, on this meeting, and I appreciate them being here. What an exciting time for us. But I also want to acknowledge a retirement. And it was a sad day when I received Jimmy Seabolt's retirement letter. He's been such a fixture in our school district, 30 years of service to the Yorktown Central School District. And just, the board will be aware in recent years, we started a custodial mentor program. We had such turnover in custodians over recent years that we thought it would be wise to have a mentor program begun to support some of the newer members of the district. Jimmy was the first person we turned to at the elementary level to support the new hires. And he has been such a wonderful mentor, both formally and informally, to so many. And he will be a great loss to our school district. I wish him well in the next stage of his life.
Thank you. Anything else? Or we go? Okay, can I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I oppose. Congratulations to everybody. The budget transfers. A motion to approve the budget transfers as listed below.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I oppose. We have a motion to approve the Westchester Putnam School Board Association's ratification of the 2021 budget and slate of the 2021 officers and members of the Board of Directors.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed. A motion to accept the following change orders for MDS for HVAC Inc. from the summer 19 capital reserve projects. We have change order deduct at the Mildred Strang Middle School for $10,000 and a deduct change order for the Yorktown High School in the amount of $5,400.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I oppose. A motion to accept the proposal from TransFinder for upgraded transportation software. It includes training, data migration, and support services in an amount not to exceed $13,750.
So moved.
So second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
oppose. A motion to approve the contract with Safe Havens International to visit Yorktown School District in March or April 2021 to provide the district with school safety and security consultation. The previously scheduled visit, which was for March of 2020, had been postponed due to the pandemic. The contract cost not to exceed $15,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, whereas the New York State educational law requires the district to prepare, approve, and make publicly available the 2021 property tax report card. Therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Yorktown Central School District approves the 2021 property tax report card and authorizes superintendent to publish it in accordance with law.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? A motion to accept the response to the recommendations made by the internal auditors for the intensive review of the cash handling / fundraising practices.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas it is the desire of the participating school districts of the Southern Westchester Board of Cooperative Educational Services adopting this resolution to bid jointly in the supplies, commodities, and materials and equipment set forth below. Now therefore be it resolved that the Yorktown Central School District agrees to participate with other school districts of the Southern Westchester Board of Educational Services, Westchester County, New York, adopting in the joint bidding of the supplies listed below.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
opposed. A motion to approve the following placements as of May 11, 2020.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I opposed. We're up to board comments. Reshmi.
Well, congratulations to everyone making tenure tonight. They truly reflect, I think, the best, in our district, and this is always one of the highlights every single year. Also, on the internal auditor report, I do want to say thank you to Tom and Alicia and their team for their work. I think every time we get an audit report, whether it's from the internal or the external auditor, the recommendations and suggestions that come are benign, if I may say that. So that's all. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Lisa?
Yeah, congratulations to everyone this evening. I hope that they enjoyed the evening. I saw, people getting flowers and hugs from family members. I hope they're enjoying their evening at home as much as they would have enjoyed it in the incredibly hot, stuffy cafeteria. So, it's a special evening, and I hope everyone is just making the best of it under the circumstances. And in terms of the budget, thank you, Dr. Hatter and Tom and Lisa and the team that supports you for coming in and doing the best you can under the circumstances. We know it's difficult and there were a lot of last minute changes, and for you to pull everything together. And Yvette, we know the undertaking that is about to happen with the envelope and the envelope and the envelope and everything that's about to come underway. So we really do appreciate everything that everybody behind the scenes is doing to make everything happen. So thank you to all of you.
Peter?
No, I echo what Lisa and Rashmi have already said. Congratulations to all our employees that received tenure, all the new appointments. Sure wish we could have done it in person. And also to Dr. Hatter and team. It was a difficult budget year. You guys did an unbelievable job, and we will get through it. So thank you.
Anthony?
Yes, just again, like what everyone else said, all the tenure candidates, thank you. Congratulations for working so hard in our district, and very proud of you. Thank you.
Cheryl?
I hate to be repetitive, but I'll just say it a little bit differently. Sometimes we don't realize what we have until we don't have it anymore. And these times with COVID-19 have proven to be very challenging. And what we don't have right now are our teachers in front of us. And we miss them so much because we have such outstanding educators, such as the ones who were tenured tonight. We miss you. My kids miss you. And the example and the role models of these tenured employees the example is simply outstanding. And as well as the educators who are, constantly in our hallways, hopefully when we go back at some point. But we really do miss you. And they are just such a fine example of all of our employees. So thank you and congratulations to the tenured employees tonight.
I echo everything everybody said. And I especially, again, want to thank our administrative team. It wasn't an easy budget. And then you had to redo it because it wasn't like we could go with what we started out with. So I truly appreciate all the time and the effort you put into that, along with trying to run a district and move from face-to-face learning to online learning. I know you're working 24/7, 7 days a week, because Ron, we could reach you anytime. Tom, you're the same way. Lisa, you've all been phenomenal. And I just truly appreciate everything you've done. And I hope Yorktown really understands what they have in the leadership in this district. So thank you. Ron, Lisa, Tom, anything? Oh, Mike, I forgot you, Mike. Where are you? Sorry.
But look, I'll echo what everybody has said. It's wonderful when we have the opportunity to grant tenure to our newer teachers. Unfortunately, it had to be via video, but nonetheless, it means a great deal to us and to them. And thank you to the administration and all the administrators. This, as it was an extremely challenging budget season, and many iterations, many discussions, and thank you for all the hard work. And I think we got to a place where everybody can be happy.
Ron, Tom, Lisa, anything?
Nothing on my end.
You guys good? All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.